Beginning on January 1, 2025, manufacturers are no longer allowed to build heating and cooling equipment with R410A refrigerant. As we transition to this new R454B refrigerant, additional installation steps will be required to ensure long-term safe operation of the cooling system. In this video, we will review the steps required to install an R454B outdoor unit and coil in a gas furnace application in a manufactured home using equipment within the Carrier family of products. R454B outdoor units and coils will be similar to R410A from an installation perspective. Please review training available through your equipment supplier before installing these new systems. For the R454B refrigerant transition, gas furnaces are not changing. Some minor modifications will be made to the coil casing, and we will review that in this video. Removal of the doors will be identical to previous models. For manufactured housing, the majority of the installation changes for R454B systems will be related to the indoor coil portion of the installation. Due to the mildly flammable rating of R454B, the new EAA5X coils will contain a refrigerant leak sensor and wiring harness. The sensor will be installed in the correct location from the factory, and no adjustments of the sensor are required in installation. The coil package will also contain a new component called the Dissipation control and labeling to identify the system as R454B. Installing the coil inside the empty coil casing will be the same as the previous unit. Ensure the indoor coil and outdoor units are a matched system, as the R410A and R454B coils are not interchangeable. Next, open the box containing the dissipation control. There will be a control board inside an enclosure, as well as a wiring harness to connect the dissipation control to the unit. The dissipation control is mounted external to the furnace and is designed for installation flexibility. It can be installed on a wall near the furnace using standard screws, or it can be installed on the unit using self-tapping sheet metal screws. The dissipation control has two plugs with unique connectors, so they cannot be wired incorrectly. The 8-pin plug will be connected to the control as received. Later, we will connect the refrigerant leak sensor to the 4-pin plug on the control. The dissipation control harness can be run through the thermostat wire knockout to enter the furnace control box area with appropriate grommet installation to protect the harness wire. The other end of the dissipation control harness now needs to be connected between the thermostat and furnace. The wires are clearly labeled to ensure connections are made correctly. The thermostat wiring of the furnace as it leaves the manufactured housing factory will be the same as previous units with 5 wires connected. The technician will need to unwire some of the thermostat wires and reconnect them to the dissipation control harness wires. First, we will connect the power wire to the dissipation board. Locate the red wire on the dissipation control harness with a piggyback terminal. Remove the furnace transformer connection from SEC1 and place the dissipation harness piggyback connector to the SEC1 spade connector. Then, connect the furnace transformer wire to the piggyback terminal. For the gas furnace thermostat wiring, only 2 of the original thermostat wires need to be removed from the control board and run through the dissipation control: the G fan wire and the W gas heat wire. First, remove those 2 wires from the furnace control board and set aside. Now, gather the dissipation control harness wires with fork connector terminals. These are the furnace input wires from the dissipation control. There is not a required order for these connections, however, this sequence may make it easier for you to maneuver. First, connect the fork terminal wire labeled G out to Furn G to the G terminal on the furnace control board. Next, connect the fork terminal labeled W out to Furn W and connect it to the W terminal on the furnace control board. Next, add the fork terminal labeled Y in to Furn Y/Y2 to the Y/Y2 terminal on the furnace control board, along with the thermostat wire already installed. Do not connect the outdoor unit Y to the furnace control board because the Y fork terminal is energized during dissipation mode to ensure adequate airflow. Next, add the fork connector labeled Common to Furn C to the furnace C terminal along with the thermostat wire already installed. Now, we will connect the original thermostat wires we removed earlier to the dissipation control input. Connect the dissipation control harness wire labeled GN to T-stat-G. This will be a normal pigtail and not a forked connector. Connect this wire to the original G thermostat wire with a standard wire nut. Next, locate the dissipation control harness wire labeled WN to T-stat-W. Connect this wire to the original W thermostat wire. Last, we need to connect the outdoor unit thermostat wires. Connect the dissipation control harness wire labeled Y out to outdoor unit and connect it to the outdoor unit Y connection using a standard wire nut. Again, do not connect the outdoor unit Y wire to the furnace control board. Last, add the outdoor unit common wire to the gas furnace control board C terminal along with other common wire already connected. Wiring is now complete. Carefully bundle the excess wire inside the control box area. Next, we need to connect the refrigerant leak sensor harness to the dissipation control. The coil sensor harness can be run through the liquid line grommet of the empty coil casing. For R454B, the liquid line hole and grommet in the coil casings have been enlarged to allow the sensor wire to pass through easily. If the previous coil casing is installed, you can use the knockout in the casing to run the sensor wire through. If using the knockout, a grommet should be used to protect the sensor wire. Next, plug the refrigerant sensor harness to the plug in the dissipation control and install the door to the dissipation control enclosure. The final step is to place the included labels onto the unit as shown, indicating that this unit uses R454B. Attach the unit doors, and the installation will be complete.